Hi folks, welcome back to the App Panda channel. This is Andy. I am actually reviewing two products I purchased from the Square Enix store. This is going to be the Final Fantasy VII main theme music box. It's pretty small. It's supposed to have a nice musical jam to it. And also the 5-piece figurine blind box set. Well, it's not really blind box because you kind of already know what's in here. This runs for about $45 straight, and then this is $17.99 as well for this. So let's get into the review for Final Fantasy VII merchandise. Remake, of course, not the original. We'll start with the music box first. Pretty small box, really nice. It actually has the Final Fantasy VII kind of text and title and information here, as well as the bar scan codes. It has the meteor on the front and says music box main theme of Final Fantasy VII. So this is a small music box that you crank and it actually plays the Final Fantasy VII main theme. Inside of it, we of course have the music box itself, and then on the bottom it also does have instructions, everything in native Japanese, which I cannot read, so I will not even attempt to. Inside it does have one piece of instructions, and it has multiple languages on it. There is an English portion, which is this small part, which basically talks about how you shouldn't crank it in the opposite direction, as well as force cranking it, because you will ruin the box. So all it is just, if you're used to these back in the day, I did get them as a kid. All it is there's little gears and little chimes, things, and cranks on the inside of the box. It is a very nice presentation, has the logo, has the main theme of Final Fantasy VII in it, and is also black acrylic plastic. Has Square Enix logo illustration, the date of it looks like the original, which is 1997, and Yoshitaka Amano is on the side. And if you actually crank this up, which there is a small crank here, you just basically crank it in one direction and it sounds like so, which is really pleasing to the ear. And this, of course, will keep going, but it is actually the main theme of Final Fantasy VII. If you remember in the original game, when you actually go outside of Midgar and start traveling the world, you are going to hear this theme actually play out. In the remake, which they say that this is really the main theme for the remake, but honestly, it kind of applies for both because it's very similar. But the main theme is also highlighted in the remake that has come out. All right, and then this is the 5-figurine blind box set. And the reason why I got these figurines is because I'll even include kind of what it looks like. As a kid, when Final Fantasy VII came out, I actually did request for some figurines, for my birthday, which I actually got them, and I still have them to this day. So figurines for Final Fantasy VII kind of has a special place, a sentimental place in my heart, I guess you could say. So I kind of like to collect them. I did get these. I also picked up the Polygon ones, which are coming in the mail, and I'll probably do a review on those as well. But as you can see in the box, it's actually quite nice. It's got a very teal looking color. It's got information here, and I'll just move these out of the way. I love that music box. I will probably have it forever because it is amazing. There are other ones I am actually getting. But as you can see, the box is teal. It's got the emblem, trading arts, 5v5. It does have some more information in native Japanese. And then, of course, it has the figures that are included, which, like I said, they call it a blind box. I'm not sure why, because, they're really in there. And then it's got more illustration of those as well. So let's go ahead, open her up, and take a look. Which, I guess this is kind of why they say it's the blind box, because it actually is in blind boxes, which, if you look at the illustration, really awesome. It has all of the different characters on the side that you could potentially get, which is Cloud, Tifa, Aries, Barrett, and also Sephiroth. More native Japanese here on the back. And, of course, really cool kind of layout here. So let's go ahead and open this up, and we'll see what we get. It would be interesting, though, if I did open these up and they did give me duplicates, which I would not be entirely surprised if that is the case, because, I mean, why not? Sometimes they do that. If it does, then that probably means I'll have to get more. Wow. Alright, so it looks like we have Barrett here. So what was interesting was in the actual pictures is it was showing them with the stands and then showing them without. So I'm glad that the stands and stuff is optional, because I thought it was going to be a little misleading if they were going to have stands or not. So luckily that is not actually the case here. So, but yeah, here it is here. It looks like it's got his weapon here, which it looks like I have to actually assemble because they separated out there. And then, of course, the stand, which the stand itself is pretty self-explanatory. So you just pop the stand on here in these little widgets here, and poke these into the bottom of them. Sometimes you got to push a little bit difficult, but you just got to make sure you don't bend them, which luckily I'm not doing that, so that you've got the stand, which is of Barrett. So let me just take a look here, and I think you really just kind of twist this in there. Yep, sure do. And there you go. You got Barrett with his machine gun arm as per usual. And it looks like they do have a little cardboard piece here. I think that's just to keep the piece actually from moving around and such. And then the instructions, which is in, of course, native Japanese that I cannot read. Let me just open this up. And then once I do that, we'll take a look at these other ones here. And yeah, it just talks about how to actually assemble them together. It looks like there is multiple pieces that they actually put in here. Oh, looks like I did it wrong. I think this is to allow it to actually spin somewhat. So there is a piece. This is why you read your instructions, ladies and gentlemen. So you're going to put this piece here, and it basically says to put the long piece with the bigger shaft there, right there, and then put this here. And then you still force it in like that. Cool. That's awesome. Of course, I'm always been a fan of Barrett. I like his character, and I like how, even in the original Final Fantasy VII, how he kind of evolved as a character. Because he starts out as kind of like a terrorist, taking over and, you know, destroying all the different refineries. However, he ends up growing up even more and becoming more of a guy that kind of takes responsibility for, you know, the things that he did back in his mining town. Even though he did the right thing, everyone kind of gave him a lot of crap for really no reason. But he definitely grows as a character and definitely becomes a close character, especially to Cloud later on. Oh, looks like this is Cloud, speaking of which has his head separated from his body and his sword and a stand, and it looks like an additional stand. So we're going to take a look at that here in just a second as we assemble these together. Wow. I didn't realize there was going to be assembly required. I thought they were all going to be together, but you know what? Things happen. And I'm actually quite alright with that, because the old figurines that I had before, they were kind of piecemeal. They were easy to break apart. They were easy to actually not put together or anything like that, and you could break them off almost in the wrong way. And as a kid, it probably was not the best idea that I actually got a hold of them. But I'm glad I did, because it's actually kind of something special that I have with me. And yeah, pretty easy assembly. Basically just put his head here, just like it says, like so. And then you assemble his hand, which is actually part of the sword. This is kind of weird. And then you also put the sword there on his back. So let's Let me just make sure I do this so I don't break it. Because this part is actually kind of fragile, I would say. Alright, let's try it the other way then. Let's try the sword first. So the sword goes in there, and the hand goes right here. And actually, probably the sword should have gone first, to be honest, before his head. So let's try that. Oh my god. Oof, wow. That was kind of a pain. There it is. And then, whoop, don't put your head backwards. And then put them on the stand here, like so. So there's a reason why I probably don't do things like, I don't actually know what this is for. Is this just to make them higher than the rest, I guess? I don't know. I'll have to look that up and see. Not exactly sure why that's there. Feels, I don't know, it feels like there's something inside of here, but I don't really know what it is. Yeah, the instructions don't really say much other than that, so we'll just keep that with it and we'll keep going. Alright, next one. And keep going here. This one looks like it's going to be Sephiroth. One of the most recognizable and iconic villain in Final Fantasy series, and actually outside of it, there's a lot of folks that actually recognize Sephiroth as a villain from outside of the world of Final Fantasy, which is pretty cool. But yeah, if you've looked at the way that Final Fantasy was developed, obviously you can see the differences in the swords between Cloud Strife, where he has a super wide, bulky sword versus Sephiroth's super thin and long, and that's intentional, not just for his expertise as a hardcore villain, antagonist versus protagonist, but it was actually intended that they wanted to make that completely separate because obviously, yin and yang and opposite things like that, where you have Cloud with the big, wide, massive Buster Sword versus Sephiroth's super long and thin sword. So it's quite intense and awesome. I am going to look over this just to make sure that I'm doing this right. Mainly because... Okay, yeah, it's opposite. Good thing I looked. He actually has a sword like this. I thought his sword was going to be across from him, but probably makes sense that it's not. It's more outward like that. Oh. Oh, don't die. Stay there. Yes, I know you've got super long hair and stuff. And of course, I won't spoil it, but of course he does have some, relevance and connection to Aries, which is the other protagonist that is in the series. Actually, probably one of the most important. But there is a special connection between the two, and it's not in the romantic kind, I can assure you there. All right, well, we'll keep going. So the next piece here, we'll open this guy up. It's actually a good thing we're doing this because I didn't even realize there's an assembly with it. So if you're getting these for the first time, you can watch this and see how it's assembled together. All right, and just like we were mentioning, and here's another one of those. I don't know why they're only on certain ones. Maybe it's because of the position of the box that they're in. We have Aries, who's got her famous flower girl outfit, dress. Oh, man, these things are kind of a pain. And then, of course, she has her staff that she uses. She's more, at least in my game, she's always been more of a magic caster more than a physical character, like a physical attack character. And we'll just double check and make sure that I put this on correctly. Yeah, it's pretty simple. All right, and first things first, you just kind of put this together here like so. So, in case you're wondering, I do not have a hand of a surgeon, I can tell you that much. So, you'll want to be very, very careful when putting this together. Mainly just because the slot that it goes in versus the little area that the slot enters into is not super strong. So you kind of have to feed it into it and twist it a little bit. And then you kind of have to know the position for it as well. So for instance, she's holding her staff up kind of like this, and if you look at the photos you could probably see the better position of where her hand goes. The instructions actually do a very good job also showing it, but you want to make sure, because I'm about to twist her arm off here if it doesn't work, which would suck. They do not make this easy. Let's see here. Just came off. So it's supposed to be kind of twisted like this. You could probably also super glue these together so these don't actually come off when you have them posted. Oh my goodness, woman. This one's hard. This one's probably the hardest one so far. Come on. There. Good Lord. And then her boots have holes on the end here, just like this. Let me see if, I'm pretty sure it goes along the lines like this. Oh man, I make this difficult, and it shouldn't be. Good Lord. Alright, let me get this on here first, and then I will place that back on there. But yeah, they don't make this super easy for you. Alright, her hand is supposed to go like so. Come on. I may have to super glue this if it doesn't go in. See if I could twist it in. Actually, that kind of helped. Then her foot came off. Goodness. Alright. There it is. Alright. And then, last but not least, we have Tifa, Cloud's childhood friend from the village that he's in, and also the one that owns 7th Heaven, which is a bar in Midgar in the slums. she should be pretty easy because her weapons are her arms and hands, so shouldn't be much there. Should just be probably the stand and that's it. Okay. Alright, let's just take a look here. Yep, just the stand. Man. But yeah, there's the childhood promise that she brings up in the beginning of Final Fantasy VII, and is also a savior of Cloud later on in the games. Now, of course, we haven't gotten that far in the latest remake because it's just part 1, but that's what it is right there, and that's all of them completed and together. So let's just put them in here. And center them, because why not? Of course, my favorite character, of course, is going to be the main protagonist. The other one that is my favorite is Vincent, which he's not in here. He hasn't been introduced yet in the first, obviously the first part of the remake that's come out. And also Red 13 is another one that I actually think is pretty awesome. So there's that. All right, thanks so much again for joining me with a review on the Final Fantasy VII main theme music box, as well as the 5 figures, which is going to be, of course, Cloud and Sephiroth, Barret and Tifa, last but not least, Aries, of the Trading Arts Final Fantasy VII Remake figures. It's $45 on the Square Enix store. And also the music box is $17.99. There's actually more of these listed on the store to pre-order, so I recommend if you're a big fan of collecting these, probably head on over and get them now. But they're coming out with Aries theme, Tifa's theme, and then also the On Our Way theme in Final Fantasy VII. So thanks for joining this review. I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below and to keep an eye out for the next video. So thanks so much.